The third step in our 7-step approach of a first appointment with a client is the EFI retirement planning model. Let me demonstrate how you should illustrate this on a legal pad with our clients. Bill and Mary Smith, I appreciate our time here today. We appreciate you as a client. Let me tell you what we've learned from our clients, and let me tell you why I'm here today. You see, we've learned that there's 3 major areas of concern when it comes to your overall estate. We represent it this way. We call this our EFI retirement planning model. Now you may remember the E stands for your estate planning. Now before you became a client, you may remember that you had 3 options. The first was to do nothing. While that sounds a little ridiculous, you might be surprised to learn that 70% of your friends and neighbors choose that option. The second option is what we learned from our parents and grandparents. That is to create a last will and testament. However, you've now learned that those 2 options put you through a legal process called probate, which is costly, time-consuming, there's delays, it's public, and there's a lot of stress. So we want to avoid that. That may be why you chose to have the revocable living trust created. But let me ask you, Bill and Mary Smith, what was your reason? Why did you choose to have this plan done? Great. So you wanted to avoid probate. Well, I want to commend you for doing that because it's the highest form of planning you can choose. I also want to let you know, Bill and Mary Smith, that you're not alone. We've helped over 50,000 families like yours execute and administer this type of estate plan that relies on a trust. So again, I want to commend you for being part of that exclusive group. Now what am I going to do here today? I'm going to do what we call an administrative review of that set of estate planning documents. I will accomplish 3 things here today. The first thing I want to make sure that that document was executed properly. What does that really mean? Well, it should be signed, witnessed, and properly notarized. Very important for a legal document. The second thing I'll accomplish here today, folks, I want to make sure that that document is up to date. You see, our lives change every year. There's marriages, divorces, people are born, they die, we get grandkids. This is a living document. We need to make sure that this document keeps up with your normal day-to-day affairs. We've learned from clients like you that assets change. We buy things and sell things. And as I've just mentioned, relationships also change. So this document really needs to be up to date. I'm very good at that. That's what we'll do here today. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, folks, I want to make sure that that estate plan is properly funded. And that's a fancy term you may remember. It really means that all your assets of any value are properly titled in the name of your estate plan. I'm going to do a thorough check here later today. Now when we talk about funding, that takes us to the F portion of your model, which is the financial portion of your estate. That funding is very critical. You just told me that you created this trust to avoid probate. So first and foremost, folks, I'm going to do everything possible here today to make sure that your assets avoid probate. While I check that funding, it may reveal that you're taking excessive market risk for your age and your income. I'll make a note of that for you. Also, that funding may show us that you have an opportunity to reduce or lower taxable burden. Most of my clients are very interested in that. That funding may also show us, folks, that your heirs may be subject to huge tax penalties if they inherit things that have grown tax deferred, like IRAs, annuities, and so forth. I'll make a note of that as well. You see, that funding may show us also that you have potentially some low yield assets that aren't performing the way you think they are. We'll do a review of that. Finally, that funding check may show us that you're taking excessive creditor risk. Now, that's not credit card risk, but it's creditor risk relative to your ability to pay for health care. God forbid something happens to the two of you and you run out of assets to pay. They can actually attach liens or judgments to your assets. We don't want that to happen, so I'll do a check of that today. That then takes us to the I portion of your estate, which stands for your income planning. I'm going to check two very critical areas here today. The first will be what we call replacement income. The day the Lord takes one of the two of you, have we planned for that loss of income? Many of my clients don't think about those things. Will the surviving spouse be able to have the same quality of lifestyle with the loss of income from either pension or Social Security and so forth? I'll check that for you here today. And then also, what kind of long-term care program do you have in place, even if it means paying for care out of pocket? I'll do a thorough check of that. So folks, that's what we're going to accomplish here today. This is our roadmap for our review. So I'll get started in a minute, but before I do, I want to point out one last very important thing. You see, we have to deal with professionals throughout our lives, and it's a good thing. These people are skilled at what they do. For instance, with your estate planning, you dealt with an attorney who drafted this document. Many of them are very good at what they do. Some of them become friends of ours. However, they work in that one focused direction. With financial assets, and I don't know what you have, it's unimportant. What we want to do is, we know that we deal with a banker or a broker throughout our lives. They're licensed to sell those products, whether it be at the bank or down at your local investment office. And again, they might be good at what they do, but they're focused in that one direction. Finally, we deal with the income planning and care planning, and you've dealt with insurance agents throughout your life that help us secure those assets from risk. That's all fine and good, but here's the big issue when it comes to people that are in your stage of life, is that first of all, these people may be good at what they do, but they don't coordinate their work. They don't communicate with each other. So we've got three critical areas of your overall estate, and these lines here may actually represent barriers, if you will, from their communication. Here's why they don't. You've got attorney-client privilege. They can't share information. They could possibly lose their license. You've got confidentiality agreements with your bankers and brokers and investment folks. Again, they could lose their livelihood for sharing information. And then finally, you've got basic competition issues. So that leaves you to try to coordinate it all. And we trust these people inherently because they're professionals. You see, folks, that's why Puritan Financial Group is of such value to you. Our clients love us because we're the big picture people. We can step in and make sure each of these areas are properly structured to work together. We are the conduit, if you will, that pulls these entities together. We're the big picture people. Does that make sense, Bill and Mary? Great. Well, folks, what I need to do now is get started with your administrative review.